On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about an album that fucks.
By a band that fucks.
We're coming right out of the gate with that.
Well, we did last week. Might as well keep the theme going.
It's Absolution by Khemmis. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters, and I can say that with confidence because I remembered to hit record this week. And we both love metal, and we like to talk about it. And today we're talking about the very first album from Denver-based doom metal outfit Khemmis. They've been around for about 6 years or so.
Yep.
First album came out in 2015. It's some kick-ass shit. And we'll get to talking about that in a while.
And it is Khemmis. I lived with a person who I remember hearing her say Khemmis a number of times, and I went, "Are you saying chemise? Is that you mispronouncing the word chemise?"
What is chemise?
It's a type of material.
And what is it used for?
Oh, it's used for like flowy sort of gowns and nighties and things. Yeah,
some sort. It's a fabric you would use for clothing.
She's the same person that said that I always put up a facade. And never open up.
I see. You put up a facade.
My facade that I put up, and then I laughed, and then I think that was probably.
Did you go to? Well, I was going to say, did you go to Skahool? But it's already pronounced school.
A Skahool.
The alternate pronunciation would be shul. Shul. I am going to shul. I'm a little shul boy. Look at me. I don't know why I sound like the caterpillar from A Bug's Life.
You do sound like the caterpillar. Look at my wings. I got them.
Oh boy. So how you been?
Doing good. I mean, it's a nice week, kind of breezy, but kind of warm. We got the bike out.
I think it's more than kind of breezy.
Okay, yeah. Well, 30-mile-an-hour winds is more than a little breezy. You're right.
Yeah, most parts of the country they'd consider that more than the breeze. But
Not here.
It is North Dakota, so yeah, it's the wind season has begun.
We've got nothing to block the moving air, so we always have a wind here.
It just keeps on a rolling. But we finally got some good temperatures, upper 70s for the week, and when the wind finally dies down, it's going to be because it'll be raining.
Right.
And it won't stop raining until the middle of June. Probably.
Monsoon season is upon us.
Yeah, monsoon season has arrived.
Yeah.
What was that like, by the way, in the Philippines? How was monsoon season?
The way people put it is during the dry season, it still rains a little bit every day.
Yeah.
During the monsoon season, it still stops raining a little bit every day.
So it's just inverses.
Yeah, it's just inverses.
I'm trying to remember what little comic I saw about the weather patterns in the Philippines. It's either like raining or volcano season.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, I remember it was Hurricane Ruby. I told you about that, didn't I?
I believe you did.
Yeah, my friends and I out in the front yard, like people in their basements, terrified. Thousands of people died. Us idiots are out in the front yard making a music video for Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions.
The fucking stupid Americans.
Yeah.
Out.
Duh.
Just having fun. You're that guy that every time there's a hurricane in Florida, he always walks out into the street with an American flag and blasts Slayer. That guy's my hero.
That is accurate.
It's probably a dumb thing to do, but I love that guy. It's great.
Always behind the poor reporter who's, drew the short straw and has to go stand waist deep in fucking water in the middle of the street.
Or it could be that reporter that claims they're standing in waist deep water and that everything is horrible. And then you just see a guy just walking by in the background.
It's like ankle deep. It's barely making a splash.
Yeah. And there's no wind where they're standing. It's like,
Or they're in a canoe and it's, oh my God, I'm in a canoe and somebody's walking by in the background. Holding a sack of groceries or something.
Quit your bullshit. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Or find a place where it's actually that bad.
Right.
Have some balls. Who gives a shit about what your insurance agent says for the company? Come on.
For the moment, please. That's sensational. Also, another thing happened over the last couple of weeks. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I'm losing the feeling in my right leg. I called the doctor today at the behest of my wife. I said, I'm losing the feeling. It's like traveling down now. It's like below my knee. I'm losing the feeling. She said, have you called your doctor? I said, no. She said, call your doctor.
You moron.
Moron. You have a medical condition.
It's a good thing you have a woman in your life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, you should have known me before.
Just like letting that go for months and months and months.
I was
till it becomes a real problem.
And that was everything in my life. I let everything go for months and months and months. Didn't clean my apartment. You come in there, you think, oh shit, some squatters broke in.
Is there a meth head that lives here? I'm kind of like a quarter of the way into that sort of phase of my life.
Yeah.
I don't let things really go all that long, or at least I don't let things go that long when I know what they are and I know the solution is simple.
Yeah.
Because like last time I got shingles last summer, it was like it popped up and I was like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm going to go to the doctor. And I did that a day after I first started getting itchy. And they're like, you got shingles. And so it never got bad.
Right.
Unlike our coworker who had a rash and was like, it'll probably go away. And then a week later, it's like, fuck me.
My tits are bleeding.
Yeah. It's like, that's because you didn't go to the fucking doctor until right now.
You could put a topical on that and you'd be okay.
To his credit, that also happened in like the third week of the COVID pandemic in North Dakota. So I will give him a pass on not wanting to go to the doctor right away.
Right.
But yeah, it's I'm only mildly. I don't vacuum as often as I ought to, but it certainly doesn't look like squatters broke in.
Right.
Unless someone looks at my stack of boxes, in which case it looks like a weird box hoarder moved in.
We have that going at our house too. Our kitchen is just full of like dozens and dozens of empty boxes from shit that we've ordered.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. If you're moving out there right now and you want some boxes, call me.
I wish I had a little. I wonder if there is like a garbage can sized manual box crusher you can buy on Amazon.
No.
Like that's gotta be a thing. Like it's just garbage can size. It's got a lever on it. You put the box in there. You pull the lever down. It crushes the box, makes it nice and flat.
That was my nickname in broadcast school, by the way. Yeah, that's right, ladies.
But like that should be a thing. It should be a thing. Like my parents had an old garbage can that had that sort of thing inside of it. It was an electric, like mechanical thing.
Right.
It would crush the garbage down inside the bag and make it flat. And so by the time, it was time to take the garbage out, it would be like a brick.
Sure.
It was a brick of garbage, a compressed brick of garbage.
Right. A trash compactor, essentially, is what it was.
So I just want a manual trash compactor that's for like boxes or something, for cardboard, like a baler that you would have at a warehouse.
Sure.
I want something like that.
Where would you put it? Where would you put something like that?
I don't want a whole baler. I just want something the size of like a garbage can.
Sure.
And I put it in my kitchen next to my other garbage can.
A miniature box smasher.
A mini box smasher. That was my nickname in college.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Everyone believes that.
Yeah.
I have some bad news first and then good news later about Doom Eternal. So if you've been listening, you know that I'm a huge fan of Doom Eternal. And there was an update that occurred last week on Friday after we had recorded the podcast that installed first of all, a couple of, updates and fixes.
And this is for
also,
PC.
Yeah, this was a PC problem only. It also installed what's called Denuvo anti-cheat, which I'm not a computer science person, so this is probably going to sound really stupid to some people. But the problem, as I understand it with Denuvo anti-cheat, is that it is what's called a kernel. It is a kernel program, essentially, like a kernel of corn.
Right, with a K, yeah.
And it has access to all the files on your computer, which is a massive security flaw if someone hacks into the anti-cheat software, because in order to work as anti-cheat software, it also has to talk to the internet. And that is a big potential security flaw. And that caused a huge uproar online, not only because of that, but also because the update and the anti-cheat seemingly completely bricked the game on Linux systems. Like it just didn't work. Well, I continually forget his name. I believe it's Marty, one of the directors at id, has garnered the name Controversy Slayer. Because he made a comment or made a post on Reddit addressing the update problems and the anti-cheat, and has said it has become very clear that our fan base does not like this anti-cheat and has big problems with the anti-cheat, and we are going to be removing it in the next update, and we will try and pursue. We will try and find a different solution to our anti-cheat issues.
And that is just feel free to cheat.
Yeah, sure. Well, they could do something like they could do something like what the Master Chief Collection does, which they have in anti-cheat software, although I don't think it is as invasive as Denuvo's is, or at least I haven't heard that it is. And in the Master Chief Collection for Halo, every time you boot up the game, it asks you, do you want to play with anti-cheat on or off? If you play with anti-cheat off, it disables matchmaking, but you can still play what are called custom games. So you can form up with parties and play with your friends online. It just doesn't put you into public rotated playlists.
Gotcha.
So you can play your version of the game that's completely modded to hell and has all kinds of wacky bullshit installed. And that's perfectly fine. And you can still do that with your friend and organize custom games. Because Halo has always had a very strong tradition of custom games. But usually they were built into the Forge system that would allow you to edit or make your own maps and game types.
Sure.
And now that you're on PC, it's super easy to install and make mods. And so they've just expanded the whole custom games feature to include that. And so they could do something like that, or at least they could try to figure out something like that, because I think having to install anti-cheat for what is, to me, a single player game, and will probably always be a single player game, because I don't care. The battle mode just does not compel me.
I mean, is it making an MMO of some sort? Or
no? What it is you launch into a mission and you are either playing as the Doomslayer or you are playing as a one of the heavy demons. And you can play as. I think you have to choose one at the start, but basically your goal is to kill the Doomslayer. And there are two of them. There are two demons and one Slayer, and they basically face off. It's like
that made me sad when you said that.
What?
You said there's one Slayer. No, there's no Slayer now.
Why is there no Slayer now?
Because they retired.
Oh, that took me so long. I'm sorry. I can't bring the Doom guy.
Yeah.
Doom guy.
Sure.
I mean, that's still canonical.
Fine.
He's also still called Doom guy. No, he you basically fight. It's kind of like the invasion system in Dark Souls, but it's slightly more focused, and it just that doesn't appeal to me. To me, Doom is a single player game.
Right.
So yeah, if they come up with some solution where I can play single player and not have to install any kind of anti-cheat, I'm fine with that. Or at least an anti-cheat that puts my entire computer at risk.
Yeah, I have the game on PS4. And
PlayStation 4.
I do, so
yeah, that wouldn't have been a problem for you.
And I quit playing.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a problem for any console. Like when the news broke and like people started freaking out, people were posting memes. Is like that one where it's like the two girls at a party fighting, and there's the guy in the background smoking the bong, just like PC players, Bethesda, and then the guy with the bong was console players.
Sure.
Although apparently because part of what Marty's post said is like a lot of people have been claiming that this was a decision forced upon us by Bethesda. No, this was a decision that we made. Like it is, at least in this latest cycle, been fairly good about being transparent.
I do love to hear when somebody owns a mistake and talks about how they're going to fix it. That is such a rare thing in modern America right now.
and in the gaming industry too, there's so many companies that like make shitty decisions and are just like, no, that decision wasn't shitty. You just don't get it. we made this decision for these reasons. If you don't like it, that's fine. And like it, or just go completely silent. Although one of the biggest cases of going completely silent was like No Man's Sky, where the developers just went completely silent from like 8 months.
A game that was put out way too soon.
And I will now that I have, some understanding of what happened, because there was a great video the Internet Historian did. The reason they went completely silent was because the feedback was so overwhelmingly negative that like it was not going to be useful to anyone to even hear or respond to it. And so they were just like, we know what the problems are. We're going to work on fixing those silently because anything we say is going to get shit on, even if it is, hey, we're trying to fix this. We're sorry for the blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what we say. It's going to be wrong. So let's just work on fixing the game and, slowly get to a point where we win people back. And they did. And they're, they eventually, the reviews have significantly improved since it's one of the few media properties I can think of that started at such a low point of public opinion and rose so much higher than that start. It's impressive. So yeah,
I haven't played that yet.
Neither have I. I'm mildly interested in playing that.
What is it available on? What
everything.
Format? Everything.
Everything.
Can I put it on my phone?
No.
Oh,
you also can't put it on your my
smart fridge
or your Commodore 64.
Oh, shoot! Another game I can't play on Commodore.
I mean, you probably could play Skyrim on your smart fridge.
Sure.
I'm sure they're figuring that out. You could probably play the original Doom on your smart fridge.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be pretty great. I don't know how you'd control it. Whatever the buttons would be.
Maybe the ice dispenser would be, I don't know.
Forward and the water button is back. And yeah, you have to open the door to shoot. You use a lot of electricity.
Yeah, your kitchen is a mess by the time you're done.
But hey, you got to kill those demons.
Right, you do. So what else is going on?
I started watching a show that came out on AMC in, I think, 2016 or 2017. It's called The Terror. It is currently it is an anthology series, but I'm right at the moment only watching season 1 or midway through season 1. And it is named, which kind of makes it weird to be an anthology series because the name is a specific reference to a thing in season 1. So it is about the ill-fated Franklin expedition in 1842, I believe, or started in 1842, attempting to force the Northwest Passage across the northern Canada.
Which is weird, because I didn't think Benjamin Franklin was still alive in the 19th century.
He did, and he actually moved to England and became a part of the Royal Navy.
Wow, yeah.
But
prolific.
It was, yes, it was an Arctic expedition attempting to basically find a way through the ice from the Atlantic Ocean or the North Sea, really from the North Sea to the Bering Strait. And historically, we know that both ships that were involved on that expedition, which is the HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror, both ships were lost with all hands. And the wrecks of the ships were not found until recently. I think the HMS Terror was found in 2016.
Wow.
And nobody knows exactly what happened to them, although there's a fair amount of theories about what happened to them. And the show is based on a book that came out in 2007 by the author Dan Simmons that is essentially about turns the potential story into a horror story, essentially, that they are being kind of stalked by some sort of creature as they go across the ice.
Which probably really didn't happen. They're just
no, of course not. But and because the creature is also mildly supernatural. It's not strictly a mundane creature. It's not a xenomorph, But the show features a pretty solid cast. The lead the lead character, main character anyway, is Captain. Give me a second. Francis Crozier, who is a Irish Royal Navy captain, which was kind of a rare thing at the time, played by none other than Jared Harris. And that's kind of the main reason I started watching, because
The Expanse is awesome.
Yeah, I heard people talking about his performance in season 1 of The Expanse, where his character really gets the most screen time so far in the series. But Anderson Dawes is great, and Jared Harris is amazing at playing him. And people were like, oh, you should watch The Terror. He's amazing in that. And so I started watching that. It also features Syrian Hines, who is not related to Brent Hines. Probably most people would know him for playing Mance Rayder in Game of Thrones. He was also on previous HBO series. He played Julius Caesar in the show Rome, which I've also heard is very good. And I could watch it on Amazon. I just haven't yet.
He's also not related to H.J. Hines, as far as we know, which I've always thought was funny. That's his name, H.J. Hines.
What's that in reference to?
Ketchup.
Oh, okay. He's also not related to a plurality of a plurality of Russian attack/transport helicopters.
All right, yeah.
Oh boy,
we've gotten weird now.
Yeah, we have gotten weird now. And one of the other main characters is played by an actor whose name I cannot recall at the moment, but he was also on Game of Thrones and played Lord Edmure Tully.
Edmure,
and the three of them together are a fantastic, great cast, and the supporting cast is amazing, and it's just a really tense and terrifying and bleak. Like, even without some sort of monster following them, it would still be scary, because they're stuck out in the ice thousands of miles away from any sort of civilization. And, the very air itself is trying to kill them. Like that's terrifying enough. And then you add in this freaky thing that's following them, and it's even scarier. It's so scary. So scary. But yeah, it's a good show. I recommend it. I'm watching it on Hulu. I
don't have Hulu.
Yeah, so if you got Hulu out there, it's on that. I didn't check Netflix. Might be on Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff is on Hulu, not on Netflix. But
it's a possibility. Yeah. I don't. It's an AMC show, so I don't know if they got some sort of deal.
I'm trying to think, is like Breaking Bad on?
I think Breaking Bad is on Netflix, but Breaking Bad was also not owned by AMC.
It just aired on AMC.
Yeah. Which is that's why I don't know if The Walking Dead is or isn't on Netflix.
I don't know.
But at any rate, album. Absolution by Khemmis. So Khemmis is a doom metal band from Denver, Colorado. They're a bunch of young fellas. Which I think is kind of a rarity in the doom metal scene.
Sure.
To me, doom metal has always felt like an old man's genre, at least for the people who play it. By listening to it, you feel old.
It wasn't old when I started listening to doom metal, because those guys were not old yet.
I suppose, yeah. Well, and doom has had a very long sort of doom has always sort of been in the background.
And as well as the music.
Yes. But I don't know when it really took off as a genre, but I would imagine mid 80s maybe.
Yeah.
But the bands that inspired most doom metal have been around since the start of heavy metal, obviously with Black
70s.
Sabbath.
Yeah.
And bands I think Pallbearer and stuff like that influenced a lot of people. So I don't typically think of young people when I think of a doom metal band. I think of, a 50-something guy with a long graying beard and hair down to his waist. And just I think of a wizard with a guitar, basically, when I think of doom metal. I think of the guy on the cover of this album. Can we talk about the cover art for a moment?
The cover art is brilliant on all their albums.
So most of their albums feature this a art piece of that. Every one of them could be airbrushed on the side of a van.
That's what they look like, yeah. Or it should be.
It is just the coolest looking shit. There's always this like old ass wizard with this gnarled staff, and he's got this really long. He looks like a member of ZZ Top. He also has like horns, but I don't know if those are his horns or if it's like a headpiece like Tim the Enchanter wears. Right. He kind of looks like Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python.
Kind of, yeah. Only much, longer, more dramatic looking.
Yeah, more dramatic looking. And then there's this like hot warrior chick in bikini plate armor,
with a sword,
with a cool ass sword, just posing in front of him,
some
and
skeletons in the background.
And there's like a monolith type thing behind them. The cover art for The Hunted features the wizard with like a bunch of skeletons in armor and stuff. And then the cover art for Desolation once again features a bikini warrior lady and the wizard, and she is sitting on a throne, right. So she's like a warrior queen or something.
And the position the wizard is sitting in that photo, he looks like he might be checking his phone.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, he's
not, but
maybe he's spying on stuff for the queen. I don't know. And I don't really know if there's any kind of like story or theming on these albums, because I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to the lyrics. I probably should, because there's a lot of like emotional charge on these vocals.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's a wide variety of vocals.
Oh boy, yeah. There is like. So I found out there are two vocalists on this. They're both, I think, the guitarists. The lead guitarist and rhythm guitarist trade vocal duties. The clean singing is the lead guitarist, and then the rhythm guitarist does a lot of the shouts and growls and screams that you hear. And there is a wide variety of vocal styles on this. The lead guitarist Phil has even on this first album, a very good, clean singing voice. He's a very good singer, and he continues, his singing improves more and more and more as their albums continue on into the present. And there's a wide variety of unclean vocals on here. There's like, a couple of black metal kind of howls. There's, some grunts. There's some death metal growls. And then there's like, on the second song, which I think is
that's
Ash, Cinder, and Smoke.
Yeah.
I don't know who is the one who's doing it, but in the latter half of the song, there is a very deep kind of, not really guttural, but it is a very deep and throaty death growl that someone does that was like it felt more like something you'd hear in a deathcore band almost. Like it was this very throaty death growl that you don't often hear in death metal itself, because a lot of straight up death metal bands tend to not quite get it. It sounds different. There's a different texture to it. I don't know how to.
A different flavor.
It's a different flavor of death growl.
It smells a little different than other death metal growls.
Yeah, it smells different.
Yeah.
It tastes a little bit different.
It does.
Well,
I'm sure it does.
It's to someone with synesthesia is going like, hell yeah. I totally get what they're trying to say.
You guys get me.
You guys understand, finally. But yeah, there's a wide variety of vocals on this, and the clean vocals especially. I mean, all of them. And I think screaming, as in general, is often a very emotionally charged type of vocal anyway. Yes. Unless it's, normally the emotion in death metal is anger or hate or something, something negative because you want it to sound scary and intense and whatnot. But, looking at something like metalcore or other doom metal bands or something, doom tends to be, by its very nature, a fairly emotional genre, at least when you exclude stoner doom.
Yeah.
Let's put the potheads out of the room for a second.
For a moment.
And talk about the rest of doom, which is usually a very sad affair. Most of it not quite as sad as like Mirror Reaper. Because, and like death doom and especially funeral doom tends to go to the very extreme end of despair and sadness. But a lot of the rest of it is more in the middle, like one of the, a slow Sabbath song, like the first half of a lot of Black Sabbath songs.
Yes.
Because the first half is, a scary, misty woods, and then the second half is fucking rainbows and
yeah, and then it gets.
It's a weird sort of trend with Black Sabbath songs.
They're all great.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. But
Hey, have you ever listened to Candlemass at all?
I've not given. I don't believe I've listened to Candlemass very much. Maybe at some point. I am on kind of a doom metal kick, so that might be. We could keep it going for a while. I think in a couple of weeks, I think we're going back into some more doom metal. We'll bring stoner doom back into the room in a couple of weeks, but. Also, guitars. Guitars. I mean, again, there's a lot of things that are true about this album that generally are true about doom metal as a whole. And the guitars on this album and all Khemmis albums,
so tasty.
The tones, man, the tones. Fantastic guitar tone on this, but it's a necessity when it comes to doom metal, because if you don't have a real tasty, fuzzy guitar tone, if it sounds too like, I think Khemmis does this better than a lot of other bands in that they make, especially on their newest albums, make their guitar tones sound clean without making it sound digital.
Right.
Which is a difficult line to ride. Like they especially on Desolation, like it's a really, really clean, well-produced sound, but it does not sound fake, which is something that I've not heard from a lot of doom metal bands, because a lot of them like their fuzz and their grit, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there is something to be said for really high fidelity doom metal, and these guys deliver. They also deliver on the riffs.
Oh man,
the riffs. Holy shit. And there's a lot of different styles of riffs on here. There is, like, I feel like so much of their sound is like, this is a doom metal album, absolutely, but there is a lot more rock and roll in their sound than you would expect from a band like theirs. I think there is it's kind of like it's the Mastodon thing, where they are more than just a heavy metal band because they are bringing rock and roll back into the equation. and like, it's somewhere in my brain, Mastodon is like the closest reference point I have to these guys. Like they're in between Sleep and Mastodon, which is a weird thing because I already associate those two bands so closely in my head, because they're both massive potheads.
Right. And I feel like, well, yeah, we know that Mastodon sort of met at a High on Fire show.
Yeah, they met at a High on Fire show. So like the association, the bands are very intertwined. I think Brent Hines was present at Matt Pike's wedding, and like I saw a picture of on New Year's Eve, they performed a show. Apparently on every New Year's Eve, Sleep tries to perform a live show in a state that has recently legalized marijuana.
Sure.
Or that is going to be legalizing marijuana upon the first of that, the first of that year. And so they were in Illinois this year, and they had someone, I imagine it was Al. I don't know. Someone was dressed up in an astronaut costume, leaking pot smoke, basically, like the cover of the Sciences. And they also had tassels hanging down from the arms, like that one Ozzy Osbourne outfit. There's a famous picture of some Ozzy outfit where it's like a white leather outfit, but there's tassels hanging down from the sleeves.
We have him in that outfit as a bobblehead kind of thing in the radio station.
Okay, yeah, we do. I totally forgot about that bobblehead. I think that isn't that jacket black though?
Is it? I look at it every day, and
the one I saw the picture of was white, but no, I like to imagine that the astronaut was Brent Hines.
Sure.
Simply because of the making of documentary for Emperor of Sand, where he appeared as an astronaut on the moon for the entire thing.
It's me, Dirty B. Hines here from the moon.
Reporting from the moon. When I wrote these riffs, it was real high. It's like, of course you were, Brent. You always are. But back to Khemmis. They're they're somewhere in between because they're definitely, they don't lean very heavy into the stoner aspect of doom metal.
No,
which is different for me because like so much of doom metal that I have consumed, I feel like has been kind of stoner influenced. Like I've listened to like Electric Wizard and Sleep and like Monolord and stuff, and they all feel very stoner heavy. Of course, obviously Sleep, but you know, you have Electric Wizard where their most famous album is called Dope Throne. So like I feel like that has kind of consumed a lot of the popular, you know, media of the genre. Like the subreddit, the doom metal subreddit is very preoccupied with stoner doom, I think. So it was nice to hear something that is this like beefy and just straight up. God, this is a beefy album.
It's very beefy.
That I think is maybe the best way to describe their sound and why I say like why it is said Khemmis fucks is like this is a beefy like fucking manly sound. So much about this oozes like 80s heavy metal masculinity and it in like the less in like the Arnold Schwarzenegger way and more in like the Iron Maiden or Judas Priest kind of way. Like it's kind of like the tacky, slightly cartoony masculinity, but it certainly doesn't overdo it. Like this is that ideal, but instead of metal church, it's, you know, it takes itself seriously in that it sounds serious.
Yeah.
Are you following me?
I get you.
You get me?
They know who they are.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know what they're doing, but it's not like they aren't a parody of themselves, basically, which I think some of those bands kind of were. Definitely parody, or like Manowar. Like, there's no way they didn't know they were fucking silly as shit, right?
I don't know. That's hard to say.
I
mean,
feel like you gotta, right?
They're not Steel Panther.
That's that's true. But like, there has to be a little bit of self-awareness of like, hey, this is kind of silly, right?
It's a little bit silly,
just a little bit. I would hope so, anyway. But this doesn't feel silly. It feels serious. It feels good. This music feels so good to listen to, which I felt like I really needed something like this right now. Something that's not necessarily happy, but something that I listen to it and go, fuck yeah. I was missing that for a little while. And Khemmis really scratches that itch. I really like this. So do you think this slaps?
Yes.
Yeah, this slaps.
Very much slaps.
It's not super fast. It's doom metal, but this is what's that guy's name? Vasily Komatsky, the Russian slap champion.
Yeah.
Who just fucking palm strikes people in the face.
Yeah, or the one guy's name is Dumpling.
Oh yeah. Is that the huge black dude that beat Vasily Komatsky or
no, I saw a slap fight between Dumpling and the huge black guy.
Oh, okay.
But Dumpling was a very stoic, boulder-shaped fellow who can really take a slap.
Yeah. Those videos are a weird corner of the internet that I don't know why I like those, because it's just dudes slapping each other in the face really hard over a table. Like, I don't know why that is entertaining to me, but it's like, it's less violent than boxing, but also maybe as much brain damage. Like, I don't know what the adverse health effects are.
It doesn't matter how thick your skull is or how big, or how much you train.
Your head is getting whipped around that fast.
Your brain doesn't take calluses very well.
It certainly does not. So, it's slapping videos are. I don't know why I like those. I don't really watch any other combat sports. Hear me calling fucking slap contests a combat sport. It's weird.
I hope somebody out there right now is developing a video game. That's just slap fights.
Oh my God. Slap Champions 2021. Choose your fighter. And they're all just fucking chunky Russian farmers. Because that's what like the fucking champion, the fucking god hand, Vasily Khemmis, he's the guy with the blonde beard, the big chunky blonde bearded guy. That might be the dumpling, actually. I believe that's his nickname. I think we're talking about the same guy.
Yeah, we might be,
if I remember correctly. He's just a farmer that like went to one of these as a joke and then was really good at it.
Yeah.
And just started getting paid for it and was like, okay, I guess I do these slap videos now. But in between, he goes and just goes back to his farm.
Yeah. Nope. Yep. Vasily Dumpling Khemits.
Oh my God.
That's him.
He's the manliest man in existence. He really just the most stoic, just gets obliterated in the face by these huge open hand slaps, and just like almost all of them just takes it like a champion. It's amazing. This was a weird tangent.
Because we're asking if it slaps.
Yeah,
so that's where we went.
Slaps. It's like that. So the score that I found, this was a pretty well received album. A lot of people, it was kind of surprised because it sort of came out of nowhere. Like nobody had really heard of Khemmis before, and they released this, and suddenly a lot of people were like, "Holy shit, this is amazing! Who the fuck are these guys?" And they sort of very quickly built up a huge following in the Doom community. So I like,
or would be the Kadumity.
The Kadumity, sure, yeah.
All right.
And I think it's very deserved because they have continued putting out very, very good albums. They have 3 full-length albums right now, and they have one recent cover album called Doomed Heavy Metal. That consists of 3 new covers. One of Rainbow in the Dark by Dio. I can't remember the other one. Let me look at it real quick.
Doomed Heavy Metal.
The Rainbow in the Dark cover, by the way, is amazing.
Fantastic.
So Doomed Heavy Metal features also Empty Throne. I'm not sure who that is, who the originator of that song is. And then A Conversation with Death, which is an old folk song. And then they also have 3 live versions of some of their songs, including Bloodletting from Desolation, 3 Gates from Hunted, and The Bereaved from this album, which kind of brings me into the favorite songs section. It's The Bereaved.
The Bereaved is the best song on this.
The final song on the album. Oh my God, that is
fantastic.
One epic piece of music.
Is it 9 minutes long? Or
yes. But it does not feel like 9 minutes.
No, it doesn't.
This whole album, like this album is like 41 minutes, and
it's very short.
It feels, I mean, 41 is close to fairly average length, but it just blasts by.
Right. It still feels epic.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it certainly doesn't feel like it feels like exactly the right length, because nothing ever outstays its welcome.
Right.
But it also finishes before any of that happens. It is kind of the perfect album in a way. And honestly, I think The Hunted is even better.
Yeah.
The Hunted is fantastic. And I think I like some of the riffs on the or not The Hunted. It's just called Hunted. I like the riffs and their style more on Hunted than I do on Desolation. But I will admit, from a sound and a production standpoint, Desolation is by far their best, which is kind of surprising because that is their first album on Nuclear Blast, who we've discussed is kind of infamous for pushing very kind of cookie cutter production.
They're a metal mill
bands.
Yeah.
Because they have a very expansive catalog and cannot pay for the expensive Gucci shit. But I'm wondering if Khemmis is doing that out of pocket because they know what they're doing. They made 2 very good albums on their own. I think they clearly know what they're doing and know what they want out of their sound.
Exactly.
And, I think Desolation, from that standpoint, sounds amazing. The fidelity is great, but I think creatively, Hunted is maybe their best album. It's a little bit more. It's just that slight bit more refined than Absolution, but that is by no means a dig on this album, because this is fan-fucking-tastic. I would like to also give a quick runner-up to Ash keep on wanting to call it Ash, Rust, and Guts, which I think is a song from the Doom soundtrack. No, Ash, Cinder, and Smoke.
Right.
I really like that one.
Song on this.
I'm also a big fan of Antediluvian, which is actually a word that comes up a lot if you ever play Vampire the Masquerade, which refers to vampires that were made before the flood, like the Noah flood.
Oh, wow.
I believe that's what the word means. It means before the flood.
Prior to the deluge.
Yeah, basically. That's what it is. I don't know what the lyrics are referring to when they say antediluvian, but and Vampire the Masquerade, it means one of like the original 12 vampires. The lore of that game is surprisingly comprehensive.
So in Vampire the Masquerade, was it made by biblical literalists or?
No, not really. Far from it. I don't think anyone
I've never played it.
I don't think anyone would ever accuse White Wolf Games of being fans of Christianity. I think they just think Abrahamic religions are cool in sort of the loose sense.
Sure.
And in the sense of if someone who was a fan of Lord of the Rings first and had never read anything to do with the Bible, if they read the Old Testament, they would go, this is some pretty solid fantasy. It's that sort of sense.
Right.
There's a lot of like active, actual pagans that work at White Wolf Games, essentially.
Wow.
Which they'll like their other games because they have Werewolf, The Apocalypse, I think is the subtitle of that one. All their ones have a headline and a subtitle.
Right.
Like the Werewolf one digs a lot more into like paganism. And then there's Demon, The Ascension. And that one is a lot more straightforward with the Abrahamic religion stuff. But yeah, it's a neat sort of little universe that I've played a little bit in a couple different campaigns, but it's fun. It's a fun little system. Anyway, with that little aside out of the way, what medal are you bestowing upon this, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
Well, since there was no platinum on here, I give this a gold.
Yeah, this is a gold.
Yeah.
I was half considering giving it a silver simply so I could say, but Hunted is a gold, so let's go listen to that. But no, this one's a gold.
It deserves a gold.
This deserves a gold, and Hunted deserves double gold, which I think is actually some sort of thing you can invest in.
Sure.
It's gold, but it's worth twice the amount of gold, or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe it's like gold pressed latinum.
Yeah, sure. Sure. What is latinum?
That's from Star Trek. That's
oh my God.
Thing.
I actually have heard a reference to that within the last 48 hours, and it was not from anyone I work with. I was watching a video reviewing Star Trek Picard, and they said that, and I was like, oh. I mean, I was like, oh, right now when you mentioned it was a Star Trek thing, I was like, oh, I should know that because I've heard that recently. But yeah, this album, Girl, it's a girl. So next week, what are we doing?
Well, I had an idea in mind, and it was pretty solid, and I was thinking we're going to do that. But now since we started this particular recording, it's changed.
Okay, so we're doing Candlemass then, I'm guessing?
We're doing my favorite Candlemass album, not considered the best Candlemass album.
Okay.
But Tales of Creation.
Tales of Creation by Candlemass.
Candlemass, Swedish doom metal band from the late 80s and into the 90s.
All right, we will get to that next week then. And I think next time I'm bringing the album and you're bringing the beer. We're going to talk about The Sciences by Sleep, their comeback album from a few years ago after a very, very long hiatus.
Emphasis on the high.
I mean, it was so important that Matt Pike put it in the name of his next band. All right, so that's the roadmap for the next couple of weeks.
There you go.
Until we get to that stuff, please check out our pages on Facebook and on Twitter, and we'll post new episode links. If you're the type of person who likes to listen to it in your browser, that'll take it to Libsyn. We're also on the mobile version of Libsyn, and of course on your
podcast apps.
Yeah, your podcast app, your iOS device. We're on there, right there on your phone. Just search for us. So that's how you can find more of us. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I just poured myself a beer, so I got to drink some of this so I don't spill anything.
All right, here he's going to go. He's going to take it down. That's a nice big gulp. Drink.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.